The African Chamber of Commerce St. Louis was founded in 2017 to help with the development of African professionals and business owners. Joining us is President Segun Babalola and Treasurer Saba Asgedom. Thank you for being here. Thank you both for being here. So this is exciting. I mean, this is a good, hearing about a business and organization and its first year, there's always a lot of excitement. How did you come up with the idea to say, let's start the African Chamber of Commerce St. Louis?
Absolutely. The idea came about pretty much from an economic development perspective. So I used to work for the Economic Development Partnership and also working with different organizations that were in that same space. And one thing that we realized was the African immigrant population that was here was really not connected to the general economy. I mean, most immigrants come here just tend to want to kind of stay excluded or kind of isolated from the actual general population. And so a lot of my co-founders and I thought about maybe, hey, why don't we try to get them into the fold? And so that's when the idea came about. And when I know that Saba already was involved with the immigrant population, especially with the Ethiopian population, so we thought that she was a great asset to add into the mix, and that's kind of how the whole thing started.
That's fantastic. So Saba, talk about what is it that you're doing on sort of the day-to-day to get professionals and businesses together and then also get sort of integrated on the economic level, as Segun was just speaking about. What is the work that you're doing with the Chamber?
Well, we're just doing a ton of networking, reaching out to lots of African-owned businesses in the St. Louis area, lots of professionals that want to be involved. Eventually, we have some really big goals like international trade and commerce that we're trying to get into. So that's pretty much what we've been doing the first few years.
Yeah, no, I was looking at the notes and it was saying sort of a network of African professionals, business owners, and improve economic relations between the continent and the St. Louis region. So, I mean, that's big.
Yes.
And how do you foresee doing that if you aren't already?
Yeah, absolutely. So we know that for sure, Africa is the fastest growing continent currently right now. There are more countries on the continent that are growing rapidly above 5% in terms of GDP growth. So we found it very important that St. Louis and the United States generally has to be making connections with the continent. There are people out there who have the same aspirations and goals in terms of business-wise on the continent. We're trying to change that conversation from aid to trade. People talk a lot about Africa needing help, but really what they just want to do is commerce. I want to buy, I want to sell. That's all they're trying to do. And so we're in the heart of the United States here in St. Louis, and we felt that we could help with that. And so we're already making those connections, and starting with the immigrant population who already have family back home, connections to government over there, and so that we can kind of create commerce between those two continents. And we've started, and we've actually been able to make connections that have led to some deals. And so we're hoping to grow and kind of participate more in the economic growth of both sides, which is the continent of Africa and here the St. Louis region.
Yeah, that's absolutely, and you make a very valid point, because I think for people covering trade relations know that China is a huge investor in Africa, but the United States seems to be sort of lagging behind. So I think that's fantastic that you're trying to do that, increase that, but from right here in St. Louis. Saba, I want to talk about current sort of members, because I think when you're talking about the African community here in St. Louis, people might not know what businesses that includes and who that might be. So tell me a bit about your members.
So, we have a wide range of members. Lots of them are African-owned businesses like restaurants right now. Lots of consulting firms. So, am I allowed to say the company?
Sure.
So there's lots of Nigerian restaurants, and there's lots of Ethiopian restaurants in the St. Louis area, and there's a lot of small web designing companies, consulting firms. So that's basically
and that covers a good spectrum from sort of the lifestyle and culinary side to businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of them are small businesses, and there's some of them are just individual professionals who just want to be part of the mix and want to see what's going on. Whenever we do ask our members, hey, what would you like to talk about? It usually was business development, entrepreneurship development, or international trade. So we found out that those are the three main things that the individuals want to see.
Yes.
And that's what attracts them to keep coming to our events.
Yeah, no, that's great. Well, we've got some information there there for you on the screen. If you want to learn more about the African Chamber of Commerce St. Louis and what they're doing, you can head to a lot there on social media: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and then head to AfricanChamberSTL.com. But don't go anywhere. We're going to talk about ways that you can get involved, even volunteer, intern, and much more. Stay with us for more STL Live right after this.